last year, this game came along, and, well, for lack of a better term, it went viral. Our imaginations were set aflame with this disease-spreading cardboard box that asked you to write on the board, tear up components, and permanently alter cards with stickers. But it wasn't the first game in the Legacy line, and even though Risk Legacy was a bit of a curiosity, this was the literal game changer, sitting comfortably at Board Game Geek's all top lists as #1 and many reviewers' Game of the Year for 2015. So when Rob Davio, the designer of the Legacy system, announced that he has a new game coming along, a new game designed to be from the ground up part of the Legacy system, and if you haven't played any Legacy games, well, they're games where you tear up cards and change components and open secret boxes and write with markers on things, and if you don't like the idea of writing with a marker on your board, then that's the whole point, right? So when he announced a new game with this cover, the whole of board gaming community stood up and listened. And since this item was such a hot ticket at Gen Con and was so hard to get, before we go any further, I have to thank two people for helping me acquire it. Paul Grogan from Gaming Rules, link up here, and Michael Fox, or Idle Michael on Twitter, from the Little Metal Dog Show, link up here as well. Without these guys, we wouldn't have this first preview so soon. So anyway, since you're watching this, you are probably wondering, what did I think of SeaFall Legacy, right? I am in love with this game. Listen, this is not what you think. I'm really sorry.
Who's that?
We seem to have somehow wandered into a really horrible infidelity sketch. It's very cliched. I know I didn't mean to do this. It's just kind of sort of happened.
What would your mum say?
I have no. But before we go any further, there's two things I need to talk about. This is strictly a first impressions video. Now, we've played the prologue and we played the first game, and we had a pretty good feel for the core mechanisms in the game. Having said that, we will probably put out a full review sometime in the future. If that review is out, then you need to click on this Dead of Winter box, and if you can't click, then it's not out yet. But if you can, then click it and you'll see our final impressions of the game. This is also a spoiler-free video, so if you really want your experience to be completely unbridled, then maybe stop watching this video. But, you know, we will say that me and Elaine both really enjoyed SeaFall, and it's a game that's deep, nuanced, and heavy, and certainly not for everyone, but probably why we love it. However, if you are sticking around, then be safe in the knowledge that all the stuff that you're going to see today is just the core components of the core box, the Legacy experience not being spoiled. Everything you'll see is either described in the rulebook or just something you will find when you open SeaFall, a game of Legacy. This is the worst idea I've ever had. Does this make me look like a pirate? Because Elaine says I look like an 80s dancer, and what does she know anyway? SeaFall Legacy, the reason SeaFall Legacy pulls you in so strong with the tide and makes you want to play it, is not just because it's a Legacy game by Rob Davio, even though so many people are excited about that. It's just because of everything that you get. As soon as you unload this box onto the table, and it's not just these little ships that you get to pilot across the seas and take them to islands and discover islands. It's because the islands don't have names. You get to name them. You get to say what they are. You get to write the history. You get to find these advisors who just have a face, but they don't have a name. They don't have a story yet. And that story will be told together. But no, seriously, this is the best bit. This is an adventure book. When you explore and when you find new places undiscovered, you get to flip this book and figure out the story as you go along. And this is a shared experience that you'll go through at least 15 games. Just think about that. You and your friends sitting on a table, conquering the seas, being the emperor of the world. Isn't that just the best feeling? SeaFall does the tried and true legacy trick of letting you name things, letting you write on the board and making things your own, and that's incredibly powerful. It works just the same as at Risk and just the same as Pandemic, and I really wish that just never goes away in any legacy game. It makes you feel like you own the things that you have on your player board. The ships have names, your province has names.
What's
I
the
don't know.
province called?
Rabonia.
Rabonia. Yes.
Thank you very much. Hail, hail, Rabonia, a land I didn't make up.
It's even got a theme tune.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your leaders have names, the islands have names, everything has a name, and it feels like this game is your own. It's a simple trick, but it just works. In every game of SeaFall Legacy, like Usain Bolt, you will be sprinting towards glory, except you will be sprinting towards a particular number. You see, at the start of the campaign, that number will be set to 11, and that's the number of glory points that you need to reach to win the game. And if you're the first one to do so, you are the winner and no one else is. And what do you get glory for? Well, for a lot of things, like exploring an island, you will get glory. Finding yourself a lot of money and buying treasure with it, that is glory. Building a ship upgrade, that is most certainly glory. Building a building is glory, but most importantly, raiding is glory. Every time you successfully raid, you get a point of glory, but more importantly, you don't just necessarily have to raid the islands on the board. You can raid another player's province, and a building that they have built, you can destroy it. A treasure that they have, you can steal it for yourself, and when they lose that treasure, they lose the point of glory for it, and you gain it, and that might have prevented your opponent from winning and allowed you to get those last points to get to 11. One final thing that you can get glory for in this game is milestones, but we can't show you milestones because that would be spoiler territory, but we can tell you what they're about. You see, in SeaFall, you kind of pick a direction, a way you want to play this game. And it starts by having your leader. Now, your leader is virtually identical to all the other leaders in the game. But some of the things that SeaFall does very well is giving you an identity, a way you see the world. And that, especially if you're into role-playing, will pervade your decisions and will give you a sort of a direction. And there are so many ways that SeaFall reinforces that direction and makes you feel that that is your chosen path in the game. And milestones are things that say, if you achieve something very, very cool in this game, then you will get a reward. On top of that, you will get glory that no one can take away from you. And that's largely what you're going to be doing in SeaFall. You're going to find the milestone, or 2 milestones, or maybe even 3 milestones that you really want to achieve and strive towards that. That's not to say that everything in SeaFall is exciting. You see, because SeaFall is a legacy system, everything you do matters. Every decision that you make impacts the next games you're going to play, it impacts the campaign. And SeaFall is not an easy to learn game, and that's why it has a prologue. See, the prologue is largely a starting game that doesn't really do anything. You're just simply moving your ships around and kind of exploring the things that you are able to do, and that might feel a little bit dull, and it does, but I'm really, really glad that the prologue exists, because if I had went into my initial game of SeaFall without having tried it before, I would have made so many mistakes. And because this game is actually really, really tight, that prologue makes perfect sense. On top of that, it gives a narrative scope to the game, if you will. I don't want to say anything too much without spoiling things, but it does set up things from a narrative perspective in a very interesting way, and that's largely due thanks to this Captain's Bouquet, or book spelt with an E at the end, that tells you exactly what's going on in this world. And the storytelling is beautiful. It's subtle and deep, and it hints at many more things to come. And that's the thing about SeaFall Legacy. It's not a game that's full of cheap thrills. It's not a game that's always exciting. No, it's more of a game, I don't want to say slow burn because that's not right. The slow burn implies that nothing exciting happens in SeaFall. It does. It's more like a bomb with a really long fuse. And while that fuse is burning, you are making preparations, trying to make sure that you are not the one who explodes with the bomb. Don't explode with the bomb. That's what my mum always told me. So SeaFall is a game that's deep and nuanced. It's very vast, and it's definitely not shallow. And SeaFall can definitely have some very slow turns. Just take a look at my turn that I took in our first game. So, I think I'm going to take, I mean, it's not like I can, there's no way of getting money.
Right.
Well, no, I don't want to raid. Sale? Oh, there is no market. No, let's not do that. So, I didn't need to move. This goes on this ship's hold. Not all turns in SeaFall I like that. And whilst we're on the subject of turns, let me explain what it is you can actually do when your turn comes along. You see, you choose one of the 4 guilds, and guilds are a code word for groups of actions that you can take. Each of the 4 guilds will have one action in common, and that is sailing your ships out into the seas. But then you're free to choose any of the 3 actions that you want. And if you, for example, choose the Explorers Guild, one of the things you can do is explore one of the islands. Or you can buy up resources, you can sell resources, you can build buildings, you can do anything that you like. You can even ring your mum and say, "Mum, this game is really fun." And this is where we come to my favorite mechanic in SeaFall Legacy. No, not mechanic. Mechanic is a guy who fixes cars. What I'm talking about is mechanisms. And that mechanism is enmity. Now, enmity is something that you give out to other players when you raid them. You can potentially raid an island and then leave your enmity there. But it's really coming into this campaign-style system with full frontal nudity when you give it to another player. Because, you see, when you give it to another player, that means that every time they perform an action against you, or when you perform an action against them, you are sort of exposed. You get less dice and they get more dice, which makes you significantly weaker. But here's the thing, at the end of every game of SeaFall, those enmity tokens have the potential to become enmity stickers. And those stickers stick around forever. Now let's say that Purple has gone and acquired themselves a very juicy piece of treasure, this honorary statue. Now everyone likes that statue so much that just by having it in your living room, it's worth 2 extra glory points apparently, and you like it so much that you want to come and raid it. You can raid another player and steal their treasure. Here's the thing though, every site on the player's province has a plunder value, and the treasure room in particular has a plunder value of 5, meaning not only that you have to get 5 successes to successfully raid the treasure room, but also that after you have raided it, you will have to place 5 enmity tokens on that player's province board, which eventually will go to the at war section. And that means that basically whenever you raid them next, you'll have a -5 dice penalty. And whenever they raid you next, they'll have a +5 dice penalty. So yes, whilst you can potentially do really mean things in SeaFall, there is a lasting consequence. Now think about those 5 tokens becoming permanent 5 enmity stickers, and that lasting throughout the campaign. It doesn't mean that you can't remove them. It doesn't mean that they're permanent, but it does mean that they impose some serious consequences on everything that you do. And in that, the game has a very interesting juggling act that it makes the players perform in terms of balance. You can do things that are mean and that are nasty, but the question is, do you want to do those things? SeaFall makes you consider that all the time. And whilst we haven't necessarily in practice found out how that works through subsequent games, the potential of that is it's a lot, okay? It's just a lot. So, should you go out and buy SeaFall, a legacy game? No. Well, okay, not no, but you should really think about why you're making this purchase. First of all, this is a Euro game. This is a medium to heavy Euro game. This is a game that takes about 2.5 hours each time you play, longer as the campaign goes on, and it is estimated that you're going to be playing about 15 games of SeaFall until you're done with it. And that is a tough pill to swallow for many gamers. First of all, you might not be a gamer that has a dedicated enough group to just continue on and persevere. Maybe you're a gamer who plays only at local game shops and you don't have the opportunity to set up a campaign like that. So it's not a game for everyone. And that's fine. SeaFall is not built to be a game for everyone. It's built for gamers who play with each other all the time and like a developing narrative. They like developing strategies. They like a developing game that grows bigger as it goes along. And if you're one of those people, boy, are you going to enjoy SeaFall. But you're not going to enjoy its rulebook. See, it's just not edited very well. We found times when the rulebook didn't instruct us to do something, or the captain's book didn't instruct us to do something that we had to do. And the layout in this could have been better. It explains rules that it hasn't explained yet. And what I mean by that is that sometimes refers to a specific rule without really telling you what that rule is. And it's just hard to kind of absorb everything. And for those people, you do have the prologue game, but even in our first game, even having played the prologue game, we found that we were still making mistakes. And this is my major negative of SeaFall. It's just, I just wish this was a little bit better. But aside from that, this is a game that was made for me. This is everything I want out of board gaming. This is one of the best gaming experiences I've had, and I've only had the one game plus the prologue, but boy oh boy, I can't wait to play more, because like I said before, I love SeaFall.
My mama cooks in Italy, mama swims in Argentina, mama's got a chungaye. My mama's works in Venezuela, mama likes Cinderella, mama's got a